Past lives is a fascinating topic, and astrology, your birth chart, can reveal so much about your past, your present, and your future, how they are linked and how they are intertwined. And we've had many past lives, many past lives. You wouldn't even be able to count how many past lives and identities you've had, because time is quantum. So when you're looking at past lives, the most obvious place that most people look at is the South Node. The South Node in astrology is not a planet, it is a mystical point that is calculated through when the moon's orbital path crosses the ecliptic. You'll have the South Node on one side and the North Node on another. If you have no idea about what the South Node is, where to look, I have an astrology course you can learn about how to read your birth chart. It's easy, simple, and I break it down in depth for you. The link will be down below. Now, past lives are very intricate. There's so much that goes into understanding past lives. It's not as simple as just looking at your South Node. That is a very general understanding of your past lives. Like, if I'm looking at someone's past lives, like, I'm looking at absolutely everything in their chart and how it's correlated. Yes, of course, I look at the South Node, and that's exactly what I'm going to share with you in this video. But I want you to know, when you're looking at your South Node, that is just a little piece of the puzzle. It's not the entire picture. So I'm going to go through all the 12 houses, and I'll leave the timestamps down below. Let's start off if you have your South Node in the first house. If you have your South Node in the first house, in your many lifetimes, there has been a very strong theme of focusing on yourself. You may have lived many lifetimes where you have been alone quite a lot, or very independent, and you have accomplished and achieved things by yourself, by your own determination, by your own willpower, by your own talents and gifts. And you may have actually been in lifetimes where there has been some conflict, and you have had some issues with other people and relationships, and you may have prioritized yourself in other lifetimes, so there may be some karma there when it comes to you and others. Throughout the many lifetimes you have had, developed this very strong ego and defensive nature, this overprotective version of yourself. You have also developed this understanding of yourself, your desires, your needs, and your strength. You have been the main character in your reality, and you have been even perhaps ruthless when it comes to being of service to yourself. And you've had also a very ambitious streak to you. You have wanted to succeed quite a lot, and you may have been actually very successful because your determination, willpower has helped you manifest, accomplish, and succeed in whatever you set your mind to. There's been a strong focus on yourself, your goals, what you want to achieve, really developing your identity, your individuality, and your independence, and being a spiritual warrior. Like, that has been a huge part of your past lives. South Node in the second house. The second house rules over self-worth, self-value, the material stability, and comfort. And this would show that in the many lifetimes that you have had, there has been this issue with self-worth, self-value, security. That has been a key theme in other lifetimes, building and understanding self-worth. So there's been a contrast. In some lifetimes you've had a lack of, and you've had to understand what success is and understand what self-worth and self-value is. And on the other hand, you've had a very abundant, wealthy life, and you've had to understand success and self-worth through that experience. So there's a contrast here. South Node in the third house. If you have your South Node in the third house, this means that you have had many lifetimes where you have had profound experiences with your siblings. So in this lifetime, there may be a lot of strong themes and karma with siblings, and they play a huge role in your life. You've had profound experiences in speaking. Maybe you were somebody who was a politician, a writer, somebody who spoke for a living, somebody who had played a role or had a position that involved speaking, involved communicating. And that's why in this lifetime you're a natural communicator. Like, writing and speaking, you have a talent, a gift for it, and you're also extremely intellectual and very smart. Travel may also play a huge role in your life. Maybe you have a lot of deja vu, you have memories of certain places, or you you just are very fond of traveling, especially locally and in your neighborhood. And your siblings in other lifetimes were not necessarily your siblings. They may have been a friend, they may have played the role of the mother, the father. You know, when we have karmic relationships in other lifetimes, we haven't had the same relationship. We've had different types of relationships because through those different relationships we learn different lessons. So they play a huge role in your life. South Node in the 4th house. If you have your South Node in the 4th house, well, you've had extremely karmic relationships with your family. There's a lot of ancestral patterns and karma that is following you from other lifetimes. When I say karma, I don't mean necessarily good or bad. I just mean energy that has been following you through from many lifetimes. These relationships that you've had with your now family members has been extremely intense in other lifetimes. And they may not have necessarily been your family members in other lifetimes. They could have been a friend, they could have been a neighbor, they could have been yes, relatives, family, sister, brother, mother, father, child. I said this to the Geminis too. When we have karmic relationships in other lifetimes, they don't necessarily play the same role that they are in this lifetime. We may have had a totally different relationship because we have to learn through those different relationships. So family and home has been extremely important to you in other lifetimes. You may have devoted yourself to your family and home. You may have sacrificed a lot. You may have been the protector, the nurturer, and there's just a lot of emotions attached to family and home and your ancestors. So in this lifetime, naturally you're probably a homebody. Naturally you're extremely close, or there's a very intense karmic relationship with your family members. South Node in the 5th house. If you have your South Node in the 5th house, the first thing that comes to mind is that you may have a very close or very emotional karmic relationship with your children. You are most likely to have children this lifetime, and that would be a reflection of the other lifetimes where you have played a role of a mother, father, or child, and that identity as a mother, father, or child, or that relationship you had with your mother, father, or your child or children, the dynamic within those relationships has been extremely important and crucial, and that's why in this lifetime it's also very strong. You may also have just such a love for children. You want a big family. Your inner child may be extremely strong, so others may tell you to grow up or be more of an adult, but you like to do things that children do, such as play, have fun, be creative, be artistic. Like, your inner child is so strong and you strongly identify with that aspect of you. That also means that you are naturally creative and talented. You may have a gift in self-expression, whether that's through music, writing, fashion, photography, acting, drama, whether that is through jewelry, makeup, anything creative. You may have also had other lifetimes where you've had very karmic lovers. Very karmic lovers. So maybe in this lifetime there's a lot of people that you've met and the relationship has been very karmic in a sense, where you know you've had other lifetimes together. Like, there's been this soulmate type of relationship, and you may have had relationships or encounters with many of those past lovers in this lifetime. Like, you were destined to meet each other because there was something to learn. So when it comes to relationships, that's also going to be huge for you with the South Node in the 5th house. South Node in the 6th house. With this South Node placement, this would reveal that in other lifetimes you have been extremely structured. You've been somebody who has really enjoyed having a routine, having a structure. You may have been extremely OCD and rigid with it too, and you have those tendencies in this lifetime. Work may have been extremely important in other lifetimes, and you have devoted yourself to be of service to others, to help others. This may be in healing, in wellness, in health. You may have been like a medicine woman or man in other lifetimes, so you may have a very strong interest in natural medicines, holistic health, holistic healing, herbs, anything that can help you heal yourself, even like food. Your work has also been very karmic, so you have had a role in other lifetimes that is still continuing in this lifetime, and you feel it. You feel this deep sense of, I need to be of service, whether that's through my work, my hobbies. Interestingly enough, you may also be extremely fond of animals. You may enjoy being around animals, especially like a cat or a dog. You may have a cat or dog or some pets. Like, you have like this spiritual or even psychic connection with them where you feel like they understand you you more than other people. And that energy is from other lifetimes where you may have even had a farm, you may have raised animals, you may have just had a lot of animal spirit guides in other lifetimes and they're just continuing in this lifetime. Like, that is very possible with the South Node in the 6th house. South Node in the 7th house. With this placement, this would reveal that you have had extremely intense karmic relationships with other people. Love and marriage and partnerships and conflict has been a very important, profound theme in other lifetimes, and there's a lot you have learned from it, and that energy may continue in this lifetime. So in this lifetime, you may have felt like you have met like a soulmate, or you have met a couple of people that feel like a soulmate. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. You may have just met a lot of people where you feel like, wow, I've known you in another lifetime. Like, this is a connection that we've had in several lifetimes because there's so much emotion and you get like this sense of knowing the other person, and there's a lot of synchronicity involved. You may also in other lifetimes have gone through a lot of conflict with other people. So in this lifetime, that energy may have followed through and you feel like you have been in issues where there is somebody that is trying to block you from something, or is an obstacle, or somebody that is very karmic and you don't really like, you don't understand why they have it out for you. The best thing you can do with this is learn the lesson and cut the cords and do not engage with it. If you feel like that it is not of service to you, that it's not uplifting you, that it's not, you know, helping you be the best version of yourself, if that relationship or that person is extremely toxic, you gotta let it go, you gotta cut it out. You've had to learn a lot of lessons through relationships, like that has been a catalyst for you, and a lot of people play as a spiritual mirror in your life. So you can learn a lot about yourself, a lot about your past through other people. So observe your relationships because they will reveal a lot about you and what you need to balance in your life, to balance the karma, to balance the scales. South Node in the 8th house. If you've had your South Node in the 8th house, you've lived, of course, so many intense lifetimes. I mean, it's almost like you've gone through every single thing you could possibly go through, and there's been a huge focus on transformation, personal transformation. You may have experienced this transformation in the lifetimes through relationships, or even when it comes to marriage and partnerships and taking relationships to the next level, when it comes to owning and sharing a home or money, when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to spirituality. There was something in your relationship, there was this middle energy, almost like this third party in a relationship, that has pushed you and made you really transform. You've also had many lifetimes where you have felt like it's life and death, and you have perhaps had to keep a lot of secrets. You've had to go through extremely intense, traumatizing experiences, and there may have been a lot of loss that you have experienced. So in this lifetime, there is still this trauma that you are carrying, that you feel this pain, or you feel like you have to keep a lot of things a secret, or you feel this fear or this paranoia because it stems from other lifetimes. There may have been a lot of karma, not only just with relationships and other people, but also with your self-worth and in money, and also your spirituality. This is somebody that may have had to keep their spiritual beliefs and practices a secret. South Node in the 9th house. This is a placement of the traveler, somebody who has traveled and learned quite a lot through their many lifetimes about cultures and religion and philosophy and spirituality. You know a lot about nature, the world, animals, and mysticism. In fact, you may have a lot of knowledge and memory about the magical spiritual practices you were involved in other lifetimes, and also you may experience a lot of deja vu. There is a lot of memory that is still within you and very active, and you can access it anytime you want, as long as you are in stillness and you drop into the heart center. So this is someone also who not only enjoys traveling physically, who enjoys traveling on a plane, who enjoys traveling or sailing, or, you know, just going out and about on an adventure, but you also like to travel when it comes to your mind, your consciousness. You may be a natural writer, be very intellectual, know a lot about philosophies, religion, world events, history as well, even astrology. So this is a placement of someone who is the wild spirit, the mystic, and the traveler. South Node in the 10th house. This would reveal that in other lifetimes you have prioritized being successful. Your goals, your ambitions, what you wanted to achieve, you were chasing a lot of success. You had some extremely larger than life goals, and you may have had a lot of status in other lifetimes. You may have been famous in other lifetimes. You may have been very well known and recognized by others. So this would show that somebody who had succeeded quite a lot in their many lifetimes and was somebody of status, and you have that sense of self in this lifetime, but now your focus is on relationships and home and family with your North Node in the 4th house. So you have achieved a lot. You've been a very career-orientated person in other lifetimes. There was something that was extremely important to you that you probably just devoted and dedicated your life to. You may have also been in a position where you had a lot of authority, a lot of power, and that's why in this lifetime, just naturally your personality, you have a very powerful personality where people respect you. You may also still be very popular in this lifetime. You may have a lot of acquaintances, a lot of people who know you, and they just may be karmic relationships and just the past playing out in the present. So for you, you have been extremely driven, accomplished, successful in other lifetimes, and somebody who has had a lot of power and authority. South Node in the 11th house. If you have this placement, this would reveal that you have been somebody who has had a lot of karmic friendships, and you have been somebody that has been involved in a lot of clubs, social movements, something that has to do with humanity. And maybe in this lifetime, you do have a lot of friends. You may have a lot of karmic friends. When I say karmic friends, I mean friendships that feel like either you have like this soul bond, this soul friendship, or friendships that have this intensity to them. And it could be for positive or negative. It just depends in, you know, your own personal circumstances and situation. And you may have a lot of acquaintances, and you still may want to be involved in, you know, clubs or movements, or you are involved in them, because that energy is still stemming from other lifetimes. That's just part of your identity. And you are someone who prioritizes friendships. You are somebody who cares about people, and you're very naturally social and enjoy being around people. In other lifetimes, you may have played a huge role in furthering humanity or advanced society in some way. So that's a huge part of your identity. So that energy is still very present in this lifetime. South Node in the 12th house. If you have this placement, this would reveal that in other lifetimes you have either been extremely devoted and committed to a spiritual practice, a spiritual belief, or even religion. This may also reveal somebody who was either isolated from society, lived a very secluded life. You may have been away from people for a long period of time, like a hermit. Someone who has just lived a life where they're more present in their mind rather than in reality. This may be also someone who has had a very mystical, magical, spiritual life, somebody that's been involved in a lot of magic and spirituality, somebody who has been of service to others, service to humanity, who has sacrificed a lot of their life helping other people, someone who was either a healer, a psychic, and lived more, like I said, not just only in their mind's eye, but also they were time traveling all the time. This person may have struggled with keeping a balance with this 3D world and the other higher dimensions. In other lifetimes, this person may have also lived a very confusing life where things weren't as straightforward, or they didn't really make sense. There wasn't any clarity, so there's a lot of fog and mysticism and just confusion that still is continuing on in this lifetime. So you can also be extremely spiritual, artistic, and creative, and be very sensitive to energy and the energy of others. So the South Nodes in the houses, drop me a comment down below, share with me where is your South Node, what house is it in, what sign is it in. Let me know down below. Who do you think you were in a past life? What past life themes are still continuing in your life? Share with me down below, and I'll see you in another video. Lots of love.